And welcome inside episode 123 of Breaking Bats presented by Not For Long Media. My name is Justin Ayers, and I am joined this week for a little College Baseball World Series preview intro with my guy, Ricky Finkel. Ricky, it's great to see you. Like I said, College World Series starts on Friday. I'm going to come at this from the perspective of somebody who appreciates the college game, but just hasn't watched it a ton. So I'm definitely glad to have you on, and it's been glad to have like a kind of a little preview. But first, I'll ask, how's everything going?
Everything's great. Yeah, I'm here. I'm fired up for Omaha. I'm happy. As they said, you haven't really seen that much college baseball, but I'll give you the intro, and it's definitely growing over the past couple of years. So I'm happy the game is getting a little more notoriety, more attention.
That's a great point because I feel like every year, like it becomes more of a national thing. Like last year, especially with like Paul Skeens and LSU and this great team that they had assembled, and Florida and the grand Shohei
Mhm.
Ohtani Jr., Jack Caglione. Like there's like things that like breach into like the national baseball sphere that all start in the college game. So I think it's a great opportunity to kind of break some of that stuff down.
Yep.
Like I said, College Baseball World Series starts Friday. Let's get into it. So we'll start with like I don't know. Like we'll do a little like teams that you like, players that you like.
Mhm.
We'll do a little broad overview. First, dumb question. What's the format for the College World Series?
Yeah. So essentially, there's 8 teams left, and the College World Series. We say that it started this weekend, but in reality, it started 2 or 3 weekends ago. Um, Very similar to the March Madness tournament. It kind of begins. There's 64 teams, but instead of the opening rounds where everyone plays each other in a bracket, 4 teams will go to what's called a regional, and it'll be essentially a 4-team double elimination bracket at the regional. And then for me, that's kind of just winner takes on, best man advances. One team will come out of that. After that, the next weekend, which was this past weekend, as we're listening to this, we're recording this, is what we call super regionals, which is there's 16 teams left. The highest seed hosts 2 teams play best of 3 series, and the winner of that advances to what we really call the College World Series, which is just the final 8 teams, and it's kind of got the same notoriety and like hype as the Final Four would for March Madness. So this weekend there'll be 2 4-team brackets starting on Friday. There'll be 2 4-team brackets. The winner of each brackets advances to the final, which is a series probably starting around next Friday, and it'll be a 3-game series. And the winner of that 3-game series will be crowned the winner of the NCAA college baseball season. Those 4 brackets, just to break it down a little bit more, there's a winner's side of the bracket and a loser's side of the bracket. So the winners advance. So let's say teams A and B play and teams C and D. If A wins and C wins, they'll play in the next round. Then B and D will be in the loser's side of the bracket, and that they'll play a game, and that'll be the elimination game. So the loser of that game would go home. The winner would keep on fighting and play the loser of the next game between teams A and C, and kind of so on and so forth. What gets interesting about it, though, is that the finals is still a double elimination game, and this is in the 14 bracket again. So you can have one team that's won all their games so far get to the finals, and they'll play the team that won the losers bracket. By the way, stop me if any of this makes sense. I'm kind of jumping all around. And they'll play the winner of the losers bracket, and the winner of the losers bracket will actually have to beat the winner of the winners bracket twice in order to advance. So that's why sometimes you'll see a game where team A, if they win, it's over. But if they lose, they get another chance the next day. And that's kind of really where it's really important to win your early games, because you don't want to fall into the losers bracket, and then you fall behind with pitching and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. Again, that's really good to know because I feel like it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like MLB playoffs where it's just like, all right, you lose and you kind of lose a series, you go home. It's like no, you lose a series, still a shot. There's still a shot, still a chance. So you said there's 8 teams. Some are seeded. Florida's not seeded. For people who are looking at that kind of confused, like I am, why is Florida not given a number?
Yeah, so I'll step back a little bit further. What's even more interesting about the 8 teams this year is that you have 4 teams from the SEC and 4 teams from the ACC. So not really many Cinderellas, no small times. Evansville was the school that everyone talks about. They made a great run. They pushed Tennessee to 3 games in the Super Regional, but unfortunately they couldn't break it out. But yeah, 4 ACC teams, 4 SEC teams. The number besides every team is their overall ranking at the beginning of the tournament. So they only normally rank the top 16 teams because those are the teams that would be hosting the original regional, which was 2 weeks ago. Florida, they were a 3 seed in their regional, which is the equivalent of about like a 12 or 13 seed if we were in March Madness. So it's kind of improbable they've gone on the run this far. It was definitely not expected to happen. But they just had a little bit of a tough time in the regular season. So they're coming off. They lost in the national championship game last year to obviously Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz. So they just had a little bit of a struggle. They finished the regular season 28-27, but it's just like March Madness where they got in, they got hot, and they kept going.
Yeah, and didn't they have a crazy 13-inning game against Clemson the other day?
Yeah, their super regional went down to the wire there. I think they walked it off in the 13th against Clemson. Yeah, just a hell of a story. It doesn't feel like they're underdogs because obviously they have the best player in the tournament, Jack Caglione, and because they did so well last year, but they really are.
We'll stick on Florida for a second because we're already here. You mentioned Jack Caglione, and I think a lot of people are familiar with his game because of last year. Florida made it to the College World Series final against LSU, like we mentioned. For people who aren't as familiar with him and just kind of so he's a two-way player guy, like pitcher and hitter, left-handed pitcher. He's got some pop. What do you like about Jack Caglione, and what do you think has kind of made him stand out? Because I feel like there's a lot of two-way guys in college, but what it is about Jack Caglione that's this guy's a stud?
Yeah, I mean, well, he really burst onto the scene as a freshman, making his impact right away. He was kind of nicknamed college baseball Shohei Ohtani, those first couple of years. He throws 100 from the left side. He's right now what drives his stock really is his bat. He's got 33 home runs this year. He's been on base in every single game this year since March 9th. He's hitting 400. Probably on home. But then when you take into the fact that he's Florida's ace, he's the lowest ERA on the team. He's a lefty, throws 100 with a cutter and a tough slider too. All these things that no one else really does in the world. He's doing it well on the college level. So we got to give credit to him for that, and he's definitely a name to watch this weekend.
Okay, I asked you this before we started recording, but I just wanted to ask it again. Just college baseball pitching, it's a little interesting because I was reading an article about him. It said he has the lowest ERA among starters at Florida with a 4.71. He's the most wins on the team with 5. I don't think of those as being great numbers, but is that a college pitching thing where it's just ERAs aren't as good as you would think, or is that maybe he was just on a bad Florida team and that's kind of a result?
Well, I think if you asked him, he'd probably be a little bit disappointed with the 4.7 ERA. But he's definitely been one of their best pitchers all year, and probably had a couple starts that kind of blew that ERA up just a little bit. But one of the major differences we need to think about when it comes to college baseball versus the MLB is metal bats. So metal bats in college will kind of you'll get jammed on a fastball in, but you still have enough on it to dunk it into center for a hit, or if you turn on a ground ball and instead of a one hopper to the shortstop, it's coming at 115 and he can't get in front of it. So it's definitely there are a lot of similarities to the MLB, but it's definitely a different game. And a lot of these guys also play on turf too, which is a faster field, and the ball comes on you a little bit quicker and tends to kind of promote a little bit more offense.
That makes sense. I see a lot of 300 averages in college.
Yeah.
And you see guys hitting 300 and you're just wow, he must really, he's going to get drafted and be a great MLB player. It's well, a lot of guys I feel hit 300 in college. So, yeah, I guess it's just all about the tools and what can kind of separate them from all of the rest of the guys that are all kind of killing it. So when we look at the field, there's a lot of teams in it. Like you said, there's 8 teams. Who's got the best odds, and who are some of these teams that you're checking out right now and you're this might be the one?
Well, there's one team that I would say 9 out of the 10 articles and picks I've seen choosing, and that would be Tennessee. They're the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. They're coming off an incredibly historic regular season, and they were the number 1 overall seed going to the tournament last either the 1 or 2 last year going to the tournament too. So this is a program that's been here and just hasn't really been able to get over the hump. They're driven by one of the best, if not the best, offense in college baseball. I'm going to throw some names out here. Just these are top 100 prospects on Tennessee. You got second baseman Christian Moore, who won the Triple Crown in the SEC this year. You got third baseman Billy Amick, and he's number 26 prospect in MLB.com. Right-hand pitcher Drew Beam, number 63. First baseman Blake Burke, 64th best prospect. Outfielder Kavaris Tears, 65th prospect, and outfielder Dylan Drilling, who's the 72nd best prospect in the draft this year. So they've got a lot of guys whose names you'll definitely be hearing come early July when the draft rolls around. This year, they led the nation with 173 home runs, and they're really, really close to chasing down LSU's all-time program record of, I think it's 188. So if they go nuts this weekend, hit 16 bombs in 10 or 12 games that they play, come crawling, they're gonna be making some noise. They've got 5 guys who hit over 18 home runs this year, and they're really the odds-on favorite across multiple books to win. However, the only issue is no number 1 overall seed has won the College World Series since 1999. Baseball's such a game of averages over the span of 200 games in the MLB or 65 games in college baseball, that when it comes down to a 3-game series or 1 game to win it, really anything can happen. So I wouldn't go. I'm not writing them in pen as my champion yet, but I definitely say that they're the favorite.
Wow. Okay, it's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Any other teams when you look across, like, and watching, or just like the research that we've been doing before this, like, is there any other teams you think could give Tennessee a run for their money?
Certainly a lot of interesting teams this year. One I like a little bit is number 12 Virginia. This is a team that's been in Omaha 3 of the last 4 years. Their head coach Brian O'Connor, he's an Omaha native. He was there as a player. Virginia won the national championship in 2015. So it's a program that's been here, done that. They know they're built for success in Omaha. So they're definitely a team that I like to watch. They had also a very good lineup. Second in the nation with a team batting average of 336. They've got a couple draft prospects on their team as well. Not as many as Tennessee. They kind of stand out in that respect. But they got shortstop Griffin O'Farrell and catcher first baseman Ethan Anderson are both going to be both names that you should expect to be hearing early.
Okay. Dumb question. Who's got the best uniforms of all the teams in college baseball? It's a big topic. I feel like it's just like people like to check out the sweet digs.
That is a great one. A top contender for that got knocked out this weekend in Oregon. They've always got great uniforms. But something about the Carolina Blues of UNC. And listen, they're also a pretty solid threat to walk away with it. They had a really tough battle against LSU, which obviously won the national championship last year and returned a lot of those guys, taking them to 3 games in the Super Region. They played against LSU 3 times, in the regional. So North Carolina was in the winner's bracket, and then LSU played them in the finals. And like I said earlier, LSU won game 1 and forced a do or die game 2 at the end. But UNC was able to scrape away with that on a walk-off home run. The name to shout out with UNC is Vance Honeycutt. He's an outfielder. He's a top 20 prospect in the draft. He's the 4th ACC player in history with 62 career home runs, and he's not too shabby in the field either. He's a 2-time ACC Defensive Player of the Year. They do a lot of their work late in games, so I wouldn't count them out if they're down early. They scored 6 in the 9th to beat LSU in a regional, which is pretty crazy. And that LSU game I was talking about, they tied it in the 9th and then won it in the 10th. And the stat about them that's really interesting is that they scored 12 runs in their last at-bats of the tournament this year. So bottom of the 9th, bottom of the 10th, these guys get down to business, lock in, get even better when the pressure's on.
Let's go. I mean, that's all right. I already know who I'm going to ride with. I'm taking the Tar Heels. That sold it for me. One, because of the uniforms are the best. Just Carolina Blue is the best color in all of sports. But 2, I think that's awesome because, like, even when they're down, they're not out. So that's who I'm riding with, simply based off of everything you just said. But if you had to put money on it, I know you said Tennessee, but is Tennessee gonna be your pick if you had to pick one right now?
I feel like Tennessee is just like the easy cop-out answer. Just they've got so many guys. I will say their lack of pitching scares me a little bit. Tournaments like this, you're facing every lineup's been good for, everyone's here for a reason. You definitely kind of want to get behind a number 1. And we saw that last year with not only with LSU and Skeens, who won it all, but with Lauder at Wake, who, they made a lot of noise. So I'm interested, and here's another one I'm going to throw out there, which is going to be Kentucky. They're the number 2 team in the country, so it's not like I'm falling behind that much, but they've just got a really, really strong pitching staff, and then they play really hard. They beat Oregon State, who's not a bad program at all, the number 15 team in the country in the super regionals, and they did that by, get this, they held them to 3 singles in 2 games. And again, this is college. That doesn't happen. You don't, like, metal bats. You just kind of need to find a way to put a barrel on one. Just fight it off, and then it'll drop for a hit. So shout out them for that. I don't think that they have the lineup that a Tennessee does, that a UNC does, but with a strong staff and you get behind a couple of hot pitchers, anything can go. And I also need to shout out Kentucky. This is their first College World Series trip, not just a basketball school. And this is everyone's seen, but the way that they advanced to the College World Series was, I think it was the bottom of the 7th or 8th. They were tied in a 2-2 game at Oregon State. There was a wild pitch with Nolan McCarthy on second, and he busted ass at third to get it. And he noticed the pitcher wasn't covering, kept going, made the turn, scored the game-winning run at home plate on a wild pitch from second base. So that's a great, I think, little microcosm of the kind of nuts bullshit that we'll see happen this weekend in Omaha, because college baseball just gets weird, and that's honestly what I'm so excited for. I will say also, Florida right now is the underdog of the tournament. I think across most books they're at plus 1,200. I think Jack Caglione is probably the best player in this tournament. Give me the best player at the lowest odds. It's worth tossing a little bit on there just to see.
I like that. A little betting analysis from Ricky here. I like this. Okay. Well, this has been great. I think it's just good for people who are like locked into MLB, because there's so much MLB going on right now. But just like, if you want to check out some great, weird, kind of quirky college baseball action over the weekend, there's going to be a lot of great games. There's going to be some eliminations, some double elimination games. It's going to be a good time, dude. So I appreciate you taking the time and doing a little College World Series preview for us.
Yeah.
Because I think people are really going to appreciate it.
Yeah. And if I can shout out one more thing with college baseball too, is that these guys, like, some of these guys who are playing are going to be in law school next year. Some of these guys are going to be, it's the same as March Madness, where, some of these guys will be playing in the big leagues. We'll watch them for years to come, but some of them, this is the highest they're going to get. And I think with that, it's so fun to watch the dugouts, how much fun they have in there, how much the guys have been hanging out all year, the little dumb rituals that they do, how guys interact. But these guys are going to be playing hard all weekend. And if there's one other thing I want to shout out, one of the biggest storylines of the tournament is the Rocco's Jello shot. So for those who don't know, it's Rocco's Bar and Grill. I'm saying that right? Yeah. Rocco's Pizza and Cantina actually is a bar near Omaha, or near the main stadium in Omaha. They do a Jello shot contest every year where they have a big board up with all of the different schools, and you go in there and you say, "Hey, I'm a fan of LSU. Give me 75 Jello shots or something," and then they keep a tally. And since they've been doing that, so I don't know if this is because that team's playing longest, or I don't know, but every team that has won the Jello shot contest, except for Arkansas in 2019, has won the College World Series. So if a team breaks away on that Jello shot early, not saying they're going to win it, but the odds are in their favor from that. And then we also shout out Rocco's. They donate about $1 per shot after that. So it is in some good fun. But if you're watching the ESPN broadcast, you'll definitely be seeing that out there.
I definitely have seen that with LSU. I've always wondered, though, like, how does one establishment acquire 68,888 Jello shots over the course of like 3 weeks? How do you physically do that?
Yeah, they got to be prepping for months on end. 68,800 would be the record now, by the way, that LSU set last year. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some marketing guy at Jello was probably just like, "Hey, how can we convince people to drink as much Jello as possible?"
I'm just thinking logistically, like, I don't understand how that just never makes sense to me. Like, yeah, there's 80,000 Jello shots over the weekend. It's like, what? Where do you put 80? I don't know. So maybe I'm overthinking this. It's just a fun bar thing in Omaha.
Become a big thing though.
It has, because you're right. ESPN will flash to it about 30 times every single game. And you'll see the Sports Center Instagram account tweet it out or post it or whatever. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on. It's a fun time out there in Nebraska for the College World Series. Ricky, you're the man. I appreciate you doing a little college action for us. We're actually going to kick it over to Brian O'Grady's back. We're talking some MLB ball. So enjoy my conversation with BOG. We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from the official sponsor of Not For Long Media and the Breaking Bats podcast, the original Fudge Kitchen. It is a staple of the Jersey Shore with 6 locations in Cape May, Wildwood, North Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. The original Fudge Kitchen makes all of their fudge in store, guaranteeing a delicious product, so stop by and let them know that Not For Long Media and Breaking Bats sent you. Check them out online at fudgekitchens.com as they are shipping fudge and sweet treats all across the country. Now back to the episode. All right, we are now joined by a very, very, very special guest. I'm going to give him a lot of varies. You might recognize this next person that we're going to have on. It's been a little bit. I think him and Will were on the last time, but I wanted to get him on because I had a bunch of questions about stuff that I've been seeing in the game, and it's just like, it's good to catch up every now and again with the man himself, Brian O'Grady. Currently broadcasting from a rural Wisconsin hotel room. Brian, how are you? How's everything going?
It's good to be back, Justin. I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm out here somewhere in Wisconsin, outside Milwaukee. A little tired, but we're ready to go. We're gonna get through it.
That's where I wanted to start. It was just like, so you're in Cleburne. You play for the Cleburne Railroaders in Indy Ball. So like this year, I don't know if people know this or not, but like I'm speaking to like somebody that's like kind of killing it in independent league baseball right now. You're tied for the league lead in homers. You lead the league in RBIs. You're batting 280. It's like, first of all, I'm just really happy for you because I know like there's been a lot of stuff that's happened, and it's just like it's really cool to like see you actually just like put everything together and you just crush it. Like I know you can. What has kind of been working so far this year in Cleburne? I know the last time you were like really excited to work with like the hitting coach and the manager. Is just like how can you kind of sum up so far what it's been like in Cleburne?
It's been great. I love it. I got a great setup there. Just everything in Cleburne is awesome. Can't complain about any of the stuff. My hitting coach and manager, they have been amazing. Just little tweaks, I feel like I found my swing again, the way it used to be when I had all my success, and being able to carry that into the games. And you talked about the numbers; they're pretty good, but I feel like I should be hitting even better. I feel like I've been very unlucky for the most part, but it just feels good the way my swing feels in the box, and the kind of bat speed and how the ball's coming off. So I'm really happy with all of that. And it's just been fun, man. We got a great team. I'm the oldest on the team, and that's been a lot of fun. The guys give me shit for it, but I can kind of do whatever I want to at the same time. And my manager takes care of me because I'm the oldest. So it's it really has been a lot of fun. It's made baseball fun to me again, and hopefully keep it going and get out of here at some point in the near future.
I remember last year when you were on Kansas City, I think you had that same kind of sentiment. It's just cool to be in a place where like I can enjoy playing the game that I have for so long. And, I think last time you said like fall back in love with it, or I don't know, something to that effect, but like, that's awesome, man. Like just like showing up to work every day. The vibes are good. You're hanging out with Gen Z people, showing you how the internet works. It's like, I'm sure it's a good time right now.
Yeah, it's fun. And it's, last year in Kansas City, I didn't feel like myself swinging the bat, and that's frustrating. But now I don't have that. So it makes it a lot more fun for myself. And I think we're in first place. I mean, we're a very good team too. So winning makes it fun. And yeah, it's been more than I thought it would for sure. And I'm definitely happy that I did it.
Absolutely. You're locked in at the plate, which is awesome to see. So, but I want to have you on. I've been seeing a lot of stuff around the game of baseball that like, I have like some thoughts on, but like, I really wanted just like your take on things that I've been seeing and just like, get the player's perspective on a lot of this stuff. I've texted you about this before, and I know I watch, pretty much every Orioles game every night, and I'm still seeing Bermuda Triangle balls drop. I feel like I watch other games too, and I just keep seeing infielders, outfielders not communicating. It drops in the middle. How much do like teams practice that? Are there drills for Bermuda Triangle? And like, how frustrating is it when like you see guys that like, they'll be like 10-year outfield pros, just like, oh, I didn't get it. Like that's insane.
Yeah, it's definitely something teams practice. Just either fungos or machines shooting into that kind of dead spot. I mean, sometimes there's nothing you can do. Sometimes it's just in the perfect spot and nobody can really get there. Um, Sometimes that you want the outfielder to catch that ball if he can get there. Outfielder always takes the priority over the infielder. So sometimes the outfielder maybe doesn't bust it right away to get there, or maybe he's not the best outfielder and doesn't really want to catch it, and he's hoping the infielder catches it. There could be a bunch of reasons, but yeah, ideally you're getting the outfielder to come sprinting in and make that catch because it is a really tough play for the infielders going back like that. But you know, I haven't seen exactly ones you're talking about, but it could be any of those reasons. And it's not fun as a player when it happens either. But yeah, you really want to catch those balls.
Does like age and seniority have anything to do with like the respect of like the call off? Like when you were a young center fielder in Cincinnati and like you had maybe more established guys on the corners, and like would they just defer to you because you're the center fielder, or would you kind of look to them as like if there was like an older guy in the corner, like, all right, well, he said he's got it. I know I'm the center fielder, but I'll let him do it. Like, how does the system of seniority work for like I got it?
The center fielder gets priority over the corners always. And then after that, man, in the big leagues, you better just be doing your job. I mean, if I was playing left field next to Kevin Kiermaier in Tampa or Grish sometimes in center field, I mean, if he was really calling a ball, getting out of the way, but they're the priority anyway. But you're expected to make plays in the big leagues, so you better go catch that ball and you better want it. You can't be timid out there. If you're timid, then bad things are going to happen. I mean, shit, we had Manny Machado playing shallow right field in the shift when I was in San Diego, and I was calling him off. So, I think that tells you about you know outfielders catching balls in the big leagues right there.
That's fascinating because I always just assume that like you would just defer to like whoever has the most dirt in your spikes. Like but that's cool to see that like they guys like even if they have so much more service time than like the center fielder will still be like, all right, well he's in center, I'm not, I'm gonna let him do it.
Yeah, that's really how it's done. And like I said, when you get to the big leagues, you're expected to make the plays out there every time. So whoever has the best shot, that's who's making the play.
I like that. So like I said, I've been watching pretty much every Orioles game, and I watch a lot of Adley Rutschman. His average, he's batting 298 this year. It's like 20 points higher than normal. So like, my buddy and I were talking about this, just like he's being way more aggressive and he's swinging more. His walk rate's down like 10% though. Is it as easy as a hitter in the offseason to be like, to make a conscious effort to be that kind of hitter for the upcoming season? Or does it just kind of like work out sometimes?
I think it depends on the player. I remember seeing last year Adley took a lot of like first pitch, like he never swung at the first pitch, I think. Um, so if you're a guy like that who's got really good back control, who's got a really good eye, isn't just chasing all the time, you can be a little more aggressive, or you can make that decision to say, hey, I can hit some more homers, I can do some more damage, if I'm just more aggressive and not taking the first pitch or looking to walk. Um, so that sounds like that's what he's doing now. I mean, obviously he's a great hitter. Some guys, you tell them to get too aggressive and they're just swinging at everything coming at them, and that's not very good. But he's a special player, and I think the best hitters, obviously walks are good, but at the same time, you pay a lot of guys to hit the baseball. So the more aggressive you are about where you're looking for that pitch, I think overall you'll be better off, and you'll probably lay off the pitches that you don't want to swing at anyway.
And the results have shown too. Yeah, it's like the average is up, and maybe the on base is dragging a little bit just because the walks aren't there. It is always weird when you see like a high average and also a low on base. That just means like everything's a hit, nothing else.
Yeah, I think we talked about that a while ago. Like it's some guys who hit for that high average, yeah, and then they have like four walks to go with it. It's like, well, it's tough because you can have bad, like that you're to some degree there, you're getting lucky, unless you're hitting a bunch of doubles like line drives in the gaps or something to go with that. Like if you're hitting 330 and you have 2 homers and 2 doubles, well, that tells me you're probably getting pretty lucky, unless maybe you're hitting just line drives right back out the middle every time, but most likely you're getting ground balls or sneaking through, like you're just getting some luck in there. But the guys, like who are hitting for higher average, Soto, Judge with homers, like those are the guys, they're doing real damage and they're making the most of the balls that they hit.
Yeah. It's always funny because like you'll see like a guy who's just like up there and he just barrels everything up, everything's hard off the bat, and then it just goes straight at somebody. Like here's an example: Colton Cowser on the O's. He's batting 234, but his batting average on balls in play is 308. So it's just everything he hits is at somebody. Have you been in a situation, or have you seen guys deal with like, dude, I'm barreling everything up, I just don't know how to get these things to drop?
Absolutely. I've literally been doing it most of this year right now. It's frustrating because you're doing everything you can. Like at the end of the day, all you can do is hit the ball hard. You can't place it, you can't tell it where to go. But at the same time, if I hit a line drive right at the center fielder, I'm just walking back to the dugout like, who the fuck cares? I said that earlier. Everyone's like, good swing, good swing. I'm like, I don't want to fucking hear a good swing. I want to hear a nice hit. Like give me the broken bat single. I don't care. And but it's half serious, half joking because all you can do is hit the ball hard. You're gonna have those balls that you smoke that are outs, and then eventually you will get some bullshit hits in there. And I don't know if they quite even out, but the more you hit the ball hard, the more success you're gonna have for sure, especially in the big leagues.
Is it as simple to break up a slump as just like in basketball? Like you just got to see the ball go through the net. Like you just got to see the ball hit the grass or just go through the hole. Like I was watching the Nats the other night and Joey Gallo was going through a tough stretch and he like half swung, bunted one down the third baseline and then nobody was over there. It's like, yeah, he got on. Is that enough to just like seeing the ball go through there? It's like, all right, I can get out of this slump now.
Yeah, if you're struggling, absolutely. That's why I'll still bunt to this day. Joey Gallo should bunt. Like all those lefties, if they're going to play that third baseman way off, and if you're struggling and that's an easy hit, it's just a nice way to take some pressure off yourself and get going again and get on base. Confidence is so big in hitting, and when you're not seeing the ball fall or you're not getting on base, even if you're just crushing the ball, it still sucks. So anytime you see that ball drop, it definitely is a good feeling. And like I said, the big leagues the defenses are so good in the big leagues. Like it is hard to get that ball to drop. Like ground balls through the infield or just bloopers in the outfield most of the time are outs. So anytime you can get something through, it's like, hallelujah, let's go. Maybe we'll get on a roll here.
I don't understand why more guys just don't bunt. I for a while, I think Chris Davis was doing that where it's like everybody was screaming, just like drop a bunt. I think he actually did at one point, but there was a long stretch where he's like, no, I want to try to hit this out. It's like, well, that's not working, Chris. You have to get on base one time for us. One time.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because, they weren't paying Chris Davis and they're not paying Joey Gallo to bunt balls all the time for hits. Like they're paying those guys to hit balls out of the park. But at the same time, it really does. Like there's something for being confident, feeling good in there. And just to see, that's a free hit. Thanks. If you have 10 of those in a season, I mean, the difference in 10 hits on your average at the end of the year is still a good chunk of points. So absolutely. I think bunting, I still think bunting is good. And I think it's probably going to start to come back a little bit more than it has.
I like that. Yeah. Make bunting great again. Yeah. I had a hitting question because like this came up, I don't know, maybe like a month or so ago. Do you remember it was like JD Martinez broke the catcher's arm because, he was so far back in the box and his backswing, I guess, just like caught, I guess it was Contreras on the forearm. I feel like I've been seeing that a lot more often where like you'll see like the side angle and these guys are so far, like they're just skirting the lines of like, are you even in the box at this point? Like you're just so far back. What have you noticed that too? And like, what is the advantage of being basically on top of the catcher like that?
Well, I think it's more, in my opinion, it has more to do with the catchers setting up because the catchers are trying to get so close to hitters now to steal strikes or give the umpire a better view that they're pushing the lines of they're too close now and they're getting hit. If you're in the bat, like if you look at the batter's box, I mean, you can gain or lose feet in terms of how long you see the ball depending on where you stand in the box. So in the major leagues with all those guys throwing so hard and all the stuff, if you stand in the back, the very back of the box, and the rule, I mean, you just have to have your foot somewhere on that line. So you can stand pretty far back there. That's letting yourself see the ball for an extra maybe foot or whatever, or giving you that much more time to get the bat through the zone to the ball. So as a hitter, standing in the back of the box is going to give you the most time to see the ball and to hit it. And like I said, the catchers have to adjust off of that. The catchers, like I said, they're trying to get close. They're trying to give the umpire the best view. They're trying to frame those pitches. They're trying to steal strikes. But that comes with the risk of getting hit. And, unfortunately, it happened to Contreras. And no hitter's trying to hit the catcher on the backswing. It's not like someone's trying to do that. Or some guys have a more depth in their swing than other guys do. Like if you watch Ohtani hit, I don't even know how he does it sometimes. It looks like he's swinging. He hits balls so deep and gets his barrel back there so deep. It's like, doesn't even make sense. So, they got to be careful and hopefully, no more broken forearms happen at least.
Okay, but that's good to know that like the catchers are, it's a little bit of their problem. Like I always just thought it was like the hitter's fault. We were just like, dude, like why are you so far back there? Like you're taking these long daddy hacks and you're coming around and you're hitting these guys. But like it's nice to know that like, their catchers aren't the victims in this situation. They themselves are putting themselves in a situation that's like, dude, you're basically on top of the guy.
Yeah, I think if you'll probably notice it now too. Like some guys, they're fine. And then you see, I can't like picture the clip, but you'll just notice catchers and they're like, holy shit, they are close, and it's, I don't even know. Maybe they steal a couple more strikes. Maybe the umpire sees the ball better. I'm sure there's some sort of data that's backing it up or that they've asked umpires about it or something. There's a reason why they want to be so close, but yeah, it's just part of the game, and hitters are trying to see the ball as long as they can, and catchers are trying to steal as many strikes as they can.
I don't know if you saw this graphic, but the Mariners tweeted out that like Ty France set the Mariners franchise record for hit by pitches with 90. First of all, that dude just must be covered in bruises if you had that many hit by pitches. I mean, Rizzo's made a career off of being on top of the plate and getting his on bases higher, but like, is it a hard balance to find of just like, I wouldn't mind getting on base, but like, damn, I really don't want 95 in the ribs.
Yeah, I don't stand too far from the plate now, and I haven't got hit at all this year. Rizzo is on top, has always been on top of the plate, but he handles that inside pitch so well. He can do that too. I saw Ty France Day. I think it was like Codify or something on Twitter had like every one of his hit by pitches after that, and there were so many that just like hit him like where he wears his Evo shield and that front like arm elbow area. And I guess they're trying to, I'm assuming the scouting report is you better off beating him inside. And they're just like, yeah, fastballs they're trying to throw inside that kind of run in and just like hit them. But yeah, that sucks. That is way too much. I would not. It never feels good when you get hit. Everyone acts like all tough and nah, it was fine. Like it never feels good. But I think there's advantages to being on top of the plate. I think it makes pitchers more uncomfortable for sure. If you're standing far away from the plate, they probably feel like they have all this room to throw to. They're less nervous about hitting you, which maybe makes them hit. Maybe it makes them hit you, or maybe it makes them leave it over the middle more. But yeah, it's all personal preference. I mean, Chase Utley used to get smoked a ton too. I remember that as a Phillies fan growing up, and he was pretty close. But I'm just glad I haven't been hit by a pitch yet.
Hey, there you go. Let's keep that streak
Probably
going. It's
probably get drilled tonight now that I said that.
now that we put that out there. Yeah, I don't, guys want to act all tough, but I saw somebody wear it in that like part where like the rib cage meets like your side. And like, I forget who it was, but he was just like on the ground, just like rolling around for a while. I was like, yeah, that doesn't look. But also some of these like rookie pitchers are coming up and they just have no idea where the ball's going. So it's like, I would like to protect myself and sacrifice some points on the on base to just not have my life flash before my eyes.
As long as it's not coming at your head, you'll be all right. But hands can definitely hurt. Knees, none of it feels good, but most of it's not like long
Okay.
lasting either. Unless you get hit in the head, that's never fun. I saw the dude from the Reds got drilled by 100 in the head the other night, but he stayed in. Man, it's part of the game. Unfortunately, you're a hitter. It's gonna happen. You can't really get away from it. You learn it. You learn that at some point when you're a kid. Some kids get hit by the ball and they're like, "This is it. I'm done. I don't want to do this." And then us other idiots are like, "Nah, we're still good."
What's the worst? What's the worst hit by pitch of your career?
Oh, that's a good question. In summer ball in college, I got hit like in the funny bone. Like it came in and I kind of like half swung and my arm went up like that, and it just right in the funny bone and it felt like my arm got set on fire.
Oh
And
God.
yeah, my fingers were like tingly for the rest. That was like right before the playoffs, and the whole playoffs we won the championship, and my fingers were literally like tingling the rest of the year. And I missed I think I didn't play like 1 or 2 games, and then that was when I started wearing an Evo shield for the first time. And my first at bat back, I got hit in the Evo shield, and I was like, "Thank God I'm wearing this because I would have cried if I got hit there again."
Yeah, I mean, I banged that on like the side of like a wall, and I'm just like, this is it.
Yeah,
It's like this is the last thing you're gonna see from me.
it was not fun.
Damn. I read an article about, I don't know if you've seen Royce Lewis from the Twins. Like when he does play is one of the most electric, awesome, like he'll hit homers and all this stuff, but he's just never healthy. And it was like, I think it was like the Wall Street Journal, like the Twins manager was pissed because he found out Royce was stealing bases in a rehab game. And he's like, why? You just be healthy. But apparently Royce just doesn't have an off switch for his like competitive hustle level. Have you seen guys like that are just like, the body comes second. I just want to be hustling hard. And is it hard to find a balance between being somebody like that and also like just staying healthy?
Not in rehab starts. If you're a big leaguer in the rehab and in the minors, it's like get your at bats in. If you need to sprint for something, like to make sure you could sprint, then do it. But other than that, it's like take it easy. No stealing bases, ground balls right at somebody. You're like 50% down the line. I mean, no, you're trying to get back to the big leagues and help your team. I'd be pissed at him too if I was his coach, but that's pretty funny. And then no, once you get back in the big leagues and it matters, hey, you do what you got to do and you play the game hard. But yeah, when you're trying to get back there and you're coming off injury, it's be smart. Don't do anything stupid. Don't go diving head first into trying to get a hit or whatever the hell it is. But that's pretty funny. I would definitely be mad too.
Doesn't have an off switch, but like it's like a good and bad thing. It's like his like hustle and hard plays. It's like that's what's made him successful, but that's also what's made him not be able to stay healthy. Like I think he's played in 4 games or something this year because every time he's up, it's like, all right, well, he's out again.
Yeah, man, he can swing it. Yeah, you can't, in the major leagues, you can't tell somebody to tone it down or whatever. You got to play the way you play. But minor league rehab games mean nothing other than you seeing the ball. And as a hitter, you seeing the ball and hitting it or, getting a ground ball or whatever it is. But everything else, it don't matter. So stay healthy. Don't do anything stupid and get back here to Minnesota so you can start doing things.
Yeah, that's I said a couple last kind of hitting and then stuff I've seen around the game. I forget which broadcast I was watching, but they were talking about just like when you're on a team that's struggling, just like, do you put more pressure on yourself at the plate to like, if there's a runner on second, like, is that the kind of thing where like guys would press a little harder in that case to like thinking about the bigger picture of, wow, we could really use that run because we could win and, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, probably. It's never being on a team that's struggling is not fun. Um, just the overall vibe, everyone gets it. Like in the major leagues, your job is to win the game. Um, so when you're not when you're not doing that as a team, it sucks, and the pressure definitely mounts. A lot of like the White Sox, it's a lot of young guys out there too, so they're trying to earn their keep and make a name for themselves. So it can definitely be hard. I think playing the game to win and just doing the baseball things that you can, whatever the game is dictating. Uh, that's your best bet to play well and help your team. But every guy in a locker room that's struggling feels that type of pressure without a doubt.
Yeah, I feel like it would be hard not to. Like, I know guys are like, we don't look at the scoreboard or we don't look at the standings. Like, we control what we can control, if you want to use that cliche or whatever. But it's also just like these guys are human, right? They know their team's bad, and like there's a guy on second and third with like nobody out. It's like I really gotta get this guy in somehow. So yeah, I can see how like, and also there's just a lot of bad teams in baseball this year. Like I feel like there's not that many like there's like the upper echelon teams, and there's a lot of teams that are like they're fighting for that third wild card, and there's just so many teams that are just completely out of it. I think it was like Dallas Braden was talking about this. He was just talking about how like, the less rounds in the draft, there's less minor league teams because they cut those. Like it just affects the development of teams, and just like, have you thought about that? Of just like the impact we've seen now of just like, no more high A ball, and there's less rounds. Like, what do you think that's had an impact on some of these like disparities we've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. I think starting with COVID, things got weird because they just started to rush guys places, or development was just it was so different than normal. And now um they give a lot of young guys a chance, whether maybe they're ready or not. Back a couple years ago, that just wasn't happening. It doesn't mean some of these guys are unbelievable, don't get me wrong, and are ready to play, but I think as a whole they're cutting down the roster spots in the minor leagues, so you're losing a lot of good older players who normally would be there and kind of be the bridge to those gaps, um, who maybe aren't as talented as some of these younger guys coming up, but have been playing for a long time and know how to play the game. Um, it's just not really happening right now. So yeah, that's part of the effect of how baseball is going, and it'll be interesting to see kind of how it balances out. And to a degree, I understand it, because if you only have, I don't even know what it is now. I think it's 160 spots that you can have in the organization. Like in the minors, it used to be unlimited, but if you can only have 160 guys, you're probably going to try to develop younger guys with those spots, as opposed to keep around older guys who have been around, and um, maybe they can't be a star, or they're not going to be the next Fernando Tatis or whatever, but they're just good baseball players. And we're just going to have to see how teams balance it out, because I mean, look at the Orioles, Ryan O'Hearn, who we've had on here. Look at him. He gets a real run at playing, and I mean, he's been phenomenal for them. Um, Guys like that in the next coming year, I mean, maybe they won't get that kind of opportunity. You get written off, and that's kind of it. I don't know, but I hope it changes a little bit and they figure out a better balance, because yeah, I do think it's just changed the game a lot.
I feel like you're just like missing out on like development opportunities from like having the extra guys in like these minor league affiliates just like practicing and playing, and just like I don't know, there's a level of like you need to have just like filler filter guys of just like they're not that great, but your good guys will play against them and get better. We're kind of losing some of those, and it's almost like the league as a whole is kind of like that, where like the Dodgers are just using like the Rockies as like their sharpening tool. Just like, all right, we're gonna play them, we're gonna get really good, and then when we go play the Phillies, we're gonna have that like confidence going in. Like we don't have that in the minors really anymore.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that's what baseball's idea kind of was like you knew some of these guys that were in the minor leagues or organizations knew that like they really didn't most likely didn't have a chance to be a major leaguer,
Mhm.
but you need them to be able to play these games. And baseball is so much of just like experience and literally playing and getting at bats and seeing pitches and like just over and over and over to get to that kind of level of the major leagues. And yeah, you're losing out on some of that. Now you got to rush guys to higher levels because there's not a short season where they could all be doing this. And I'm definitely interested. I know it's better for players are making a little bit more money and they got like housing is being provided and stuff. So they're they have to figure out how they're going to pay for that stuff. So I understand that side of it too, but I'm just interested to see kind of where it goes in the near future.
Yeah, I think Dallas said you just need warm bodies. I'm like, all right, well, I kind of see what you're going for there, but like, I don't know, I feel like you could just probably a better way of phrasing that, but
They're
I
not
mean, he's
bad
right.
baseball players. They're
Yeah.
just you just I like looking back on my time, like coming up with the Reds. You know, I think when it first got the short season, you think like everybody's going to play in the major leagues, and that's just excuse me, that's just not true at all. But looking back, you can just kind of tell, like, okay, some of these guys like really just didn't have a chance unless they, Mike Piazza's like the ultimate story about the late draft pick turning into, what he Hall of Fame or whatever. But yeah, you look back and you're like, okay, I kind of see why they never really got an opportunity, or the teams didn't think they had any chance.
Serve a purpose. Yeah. Now you don't have as many. All right, we'll end with this. I don't know if you saw this the other night. Paul Skeens mania is it's real. I definitely love checking him out. His splinker, his high fastball, it's great. He pitched against the Cardinals in St. Louis, 6 1/3 scoreless. And then as he's walking off the field as like a pitching change, the Cardinals fans all gave him a standing ovation. Is it wrong for me to think that's weird? Everybody's like, they're the Cardinals fans are the best fans of baseball. It's like that guy came into your house, beat your team, and you're gonna thank him. I just thought that was weird.
Dude, if I was on the Cardinals and Skeens just absolutely dominated us and our fans cheered for him as he walked off the mound, I'd have been so fucking mad listening to that. It would have been, I mean, I guarantee you everybody in that dugout was like, what the fuck is going on? Because, yeah, listen, I get appreciating a good pitcher throwing 100, do it. Like, I get that. He's been awesome. He's dominant. That stuff is electric, without a doubt. But especially Pittsburgh and the Cardinals, like, that's a division rival, like, and you're gonna give this guy a standing ovation as he's coming off. Like, get out of here! I don't want to see that. We're trying to score 10 runs off this guy, and we got to face him for the next 15 years. Like, that ain't happening. But he's been electric, so I get the appreciation. But yeah, keep it to yourself a little bit more. Don't give him a standing ovation as he's coming off.
I saw the whole internet rally behind like this is such a good thing. Like, look how nice they are. It's like if it's a no hitter, maybe, but you got to give me more than 6 1/3 scoreless in June. I have to the bar of cheering for an opposing pitcher that just beat my ass has to be a little higher than 6 1/3 scoreless.
Agreed. No, I we don't need niceness in sports. We need spiteful hate rivalries between fan bases. Not literally, but it definitely makes it more fun
Yeah.
when it feels that way.
Yeah, sports are more fun when it's like you have like a rival. It's like the Yankees and the
Yeah.
Red Sox. Like you never see the Yankee Stadium people stand up and be like, "Hey, good job, Nick Pivetta. Thank you for demolishing our lineup for a game." Like you don't, as you shouldn't.
Exactly.
You shouldn't see that.
No, you should be mad at Nick Pivetta for, throwing seven shutties against you.
Yeah,
But
you shouldn't thank him.
no, it's funny. I mean, in all seriousness, I get it speaks to, Skeens and how exciting everyone thinks he is and what a great pitcher he's been to start his career. But yeah, I'm firmly on your side. I don't like the standing O there. But it is what it is, man. Cardinals
It's
fans,
good.
I'm sure Cardinals fans are great, but yeah,
Yeah,
I don't like that.
I don't like that either. Yeah, best fan. You can be the best fans in baseball and then just not just do that, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. There's other ways you can do that. I'm glad we agree on that. But dude, it was great catching up with you as always. Continued success down there in Cleburne. You're gonna keep killing it. You're gonna hit a home run. You're not gonna get hit by a pitch. I think we're just we can plan these next couple games out for you based off our talk today. So definitely appreciate your time. And it's really great to see you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, good to see you again too. And man, we'll talk soon.